What if the person who smiled at you across the grill was the one who would quietly change your life? The July sun hung low over the backyard in suburban Illinois, casting a golden light across folding chairs and paper lanterns. Ethan stood at the grill, flipping burgers while smoke curled into the air. It was supposed to be a simple family barbecue. Laughter floated from the patio. Music played from a small speaker near the sliding door. His wife, Lily, moved in and out of the house, balancing trays of food with her usual calm energy. Everything looked perfect, but something felt off. Claire, Lily's mother, stood near the garden with a glass of lemonade. She wore a light blue dress that moved gently in the breeze. She wasn't trying to draw attention. She didn't need to. Her presence carried its own quiet power. Ethan had always respected her. She had been kind from the start. Supportive. Encouraging. Almost protective of him when Lily complained about his long hours at work. "Don't burn those," Claire called lightly. Ethan smiled. "I won't." She walked closer. Too close. The scent of her perfume mixed with the smoke from the grill. "You look tired," she said softly. "Busy week," he replied. "Lily says you've been distant." The word distant hit him harder than he expected. "I'm just stressed," he said quickly. Claire tilted her head. Stress can turn into silence. Silence can turn into space. He didn't answer. He didn't know how. Across the yard, Lily laughed with her father. She looked happy. Carefree. Ethan felt a sudden wave of guilt, though he couldn't explain why. Claire stepped beside him and lowered her voice. "Marriage needs attention, Ethan. Especially when things feel fragile." Fragile, was that what this was? Before he could respond, Lily called out, "Mom. Can you help me inside?" Claire held his gaze for one extra second before walking away. That second lingered. The afternoon moved forward. Plates filled. Drinks spilled. Kids chased each other across the grass. Ethan tried to focus on normal things. Conversations about work. Sports. Weather. But every time he turned around, Claire seemed to be there watching, not in a strange way, in a knowing way. Later, as the sky shifted to orange, Lily's father asked Ethan to grab more ice from the garage. Ethan nodded and headed toward the side door. When he opened it, Claire was already inside. "Oh," she said calmly. "I came to get napkins." The small garage felt warm and quiet. The music from outside sounded distant now. Ethan moved toward the freezer. Claire stood near the workbench, arms crossed. "You love my daughter, don't you?" she asked suddenly. He turned. "Of course." "Then don't lose her." "I'm not losing her." Claire's eyes softened. "Sometimes people drift without realizing it." He swallowed. "Are you saying she told you something?" "She talks to me." "That's what daughters do." There was no accusation in her voice. Only concern. That almost made it worse. "I'm trying," he said quietly. Claire stepped closer. "Not touching. Just closer." "Then try harder." The air felt heavy. For a moment, neither of them moved. Outside, someone laughed loudly. A car door slammed. Life continued like nothing unusual was happening, but something was happening. Ethan felt it. Not attraction. Not exactly awareness. He stepped back, grabbed the ice, and walked out without another word. As the night ended and guests began leaving, Lily wrapped her arms around him from behind. "Thank you for today," she whispered. "It means a lot to my parents." He forced a smile. "Of course." Claire watched them from across the yard. Her expression was unreadable. On the drive home, Lily leaned her head against the window. "Mom thinks you're stressed," she said casually. Ethan tightened his grip on the steering wheel. "Did she say that?" "She just worries." "She shouldn't." Lily looked at him. "You can talk to me, you know." "I know." But he didn't. That night, long after Lily fell asleep, Ethan lay awake staring at the ceiling. The house was silent. The only sound was the soft hum of the air conditioner. His phone buzzed on the nightstand. He hesitated before picking it up. "Claire, thank you for listening today. His chest tightened. He stared at the message. Another one came. Asterisk, I just want what's best for both of you. Asterisk, it sounded harmless. Caring. He typed back slowly. I know. The three dots appeared almost instantly. Asterisk, she loves you deeply. Asterisk, he paused. Asterisk, I love her too. Asterisk, he replied. There was a longer pause this time. Then, make sure she always feels that. He locked the phone. That should have been the end of it. Just a concerned mother. A stressed husband. A normal family. But when he closed his eyes, he didn't see the barbecue or the laughter. He saw the way Claire had looked at him in the garage. Not accusing, not inappropriate, just intense. And for the first time since getting married, Ethan felt something shift inside him. A crack, small, quiet but real. He told himself it meant nothing. He told himself he was overthinking, yet deep down, he knew one thing for sure, that barbecue had not been ordinary, and whatever had started in that garage was not going to stay there. What happens when comfort starts to come from the wrong person? 2 weeks after the barbecue, the silence in Ethan and Lily's home grew heavier. They still shared meals. They still said I love you. But something felt thin, like a glass wall between them. Lily buried herself in work at the marketing firm. Ethan stayed late at the accounting office. Conversations became short. Smiles felt forced. Then Lily left for a 3-day conference in Seattle. You'll be okay alone? She asked while packing. I'm not a child, he joked. She smiled but didn't look convinced. After she left, the house felt too quiet. Ethan walked from room to room, noticing small things he had ignored before. The empty kitchen table. The untouched piano Lily once played every Sunday. The framed wedding photo on the wall. They looked happy in that picture. Certain, his phone buzzed that evening. Claire, did Lily land safely? He hesitated. Yes. She just texted. A few seconds passed. Good. I worry about her flying alone. He typed back before thinking. You can call her. I did. She sounded tired. There was a pause. You sound tired too, she added. He stared at the message longer than he should have. Just work, he replied. Minutes later, his phone rang. Claire. He almost didn't answer. Almost. Hi, he said. Am I disturbing you? No, her voice was calm, steady. I won't take much of your time. I just wanted to check on you. I'm fine. You don't sound fine. He walked to the window and looked at the empty street. It's just quiet here. She let out a soft breath. Silence can be loud. They both knew that was true. The call lasted longer than expected. They talked about simple things. Her garden. His job. The weather. Nothing inappropriate. Nothing dangerous. Yet when he hung up, he felt lighter. That scared him. The next day, she sent him a photo of her new roses blooming. They finally opened, she wrote. He smiled without meaning to. That night, he called her first. He told himself it was harmless. She was family. She cared. He needed someone to talk to. Lily was busy at meetings all day and dinners at night. She replied to his texts with short answers. Claire listened, really listened. On the 3rd day of Lily's trip, Claire showed up at his door with a casserole. I made too much, she said casually. He knew that wasn't true. They sat at the kitchen table. The same table that had felt empty 2 days ago now felt warmer. They talked about Lily's childhood. Claire shared stories he had never heard. About Lily's fear of thunderstorms. About how she used to cry when friends ignored her. She hides her feelings well, Claire said softly. But she feels everything deeply. Ethan nodded. I think I forget that. Claire looked at him carefully. You're not a bad husband, Ethan. The words hit him harder than criticism would have. Then why? Does it feel like I'm failing? He asked quietly. Claire didn't answer right away. She reached across the table and placed her hand over his. Just for a second, the contact was brief, but it changed something. He pulled his hand back quickly, standing up to clear plates. Thank you for dinner. She stood too. The air between them felt different now. Charged. Not wrong. But aware. I should go, she said. When she reached the door, she paused. You deserve to feel understood too. After she left, Ethan leaned against the wall and closed his eyes. That night, Lily called. "I miss you," she said. "I miss you too. Mom told me she dropped food off." He froze. "Yeah. That was nice of her. She worries about you." "I know." There was a pause. "Do you talk to her much?" Lily asked lightly. "Sometimes." Another pause. "That's good," she said. "She likes you." The word likes lingered strangely when Lily returned the next evening. She hugged him tightly at the airport. He held her longer than usual. Guilt crept in, even though nothing had technically happened. Days passed, but now Ethan noticed things he hadn't before. How Claire laughed at his jokes more than Lily did. How she remembered details about his childhood. How she texted him small reminders to eat when he skipped lunch. One afternoon, he received a message. "Coffee tomorrow? Just to talk." Public place. Nothing strange. He stared at the phone. He should say no. Instead, he typed, "Okay." They met at a small cafe downtown. Neutral ground. Safe space. Claire looked elegant but simple. No effort to impress. Just herself. They talked for over an hour about marriage. About regret. About choices people make when they feel unseen. "I married young," Claire admitted. "Sometimes I wonder who I would have been if I had waited." Ethan felt the weight behind her words. "Do you regret it?" he asked. She smiled sadly. "Regret is complicated." When he walked her to her car, the tension was stronger than before. "You're a good man," she said quietly. He shook his head. "I don't feel like one." She stepped closer. "Be careful, Ethan," she whispered. "Loneliness makes people do things they never expected." Their eyes locked. For a brief second, time felt suspended. Then a car horn blared nearby, breaking the moment. She stepped back. "Go home to my daughter," she said gently. He did, but that night, lying beside Lily, he couldn't sleep. He kept replaying the cafe, the look in Claire's eyes, the warning in her voice. Loneliness makes people do things they never expected. He turned toward Lily, who was already asleep. He loved her. He knew he did. So why did his heart race when his phone buzzed again? Claire. Today meant more than it should have. He stared at the screen, knowing that whatever line had existed before was now dangerously close to disappearing, and this time, he wasn't sure he wanted to step back. How do you stop something when your heart has already stepped too far? Ethan didn't reply to Claire's message that night. He stared at it for a long time, then locked his phone and placed it face down on the nightstand. Lily slept beside him, breathing softly, unaware of the storm growing inside his chest. He told himself it was just emotion. Just confusion. Nothing had happened. But deep down, he knew something had already shifted. The next morning, he woke early. Lily was still asleep. He walked into the kitchen and made coffee, trying to clear his mind. His phone buzzed again. "I'm sorry," Claire had written. "Forget I said that." He typed back before thinking. "It meant something to me too." He froze after sending it. There it was. The truth. Small. Simple. Dangerous. At work, he couldn't focus. Numbers blurred on his computer screen. Every notification made his heart jump. Around noon, Claire called. "I shouldn't have said that," she began. "But you did," he replied quietly. Silence filled the space between them. "I don't want to hurt Lily," she said. "Neither do I." "Then we need distance." He swallowed. "Can you do that?" Another pause. "I don't know." That answer felt honest. Too honest. Days passed, but distance didn't come. Instead, they spoke more carefully. More privately. Messages became thoughtful. Long. Personal. They avoided obvious lines, yet they stood right beside them. Claire shared stories about her lonely marriage years ago. Ethan spoke about feeling invisible in his own home. They weren't complaining about Lily. They were confessing their own emptiness. One evening, Lily stayed late at the office again. Ethan sat alone in the living room when Claire texted, "I'm nearby. I was visiting a friend. Can I stop by for 5 minutes?" He should have said no. Instead, he said yes. She arrived with a small box of pastries. The visit started normal. Casual. Harmless. They talked about Lily's new project. About the weather turning colder. But the air felt charged again. Different from before. You look tired, she said softly, so do you. She gave a faint smile. Maybe we're both fighting something we shouldn't. He stepped closer without realizing it. This isn't right, he said, I know. But neither of them moved away for a long moment, they simply stood there. No touching. No crossing a clear boundary. Yet the closeness said more than words could. Then Claire stepped back first. We're about to make a mistake, she whispered. He nodded, breathing hard. The door opened suddenly. Both of them froze. Lily walked in, dropping her keys onto the table. I forgot my charger. She stopped. Her eyes moved between them, the space, the silence. Claire forced a calm smile. I brought pastries. I was just leaving. Lily looked confused but not suspicious. That's sweet, Mom. Claire left quickly. Ethan's heart pounded in his ears. Everything okay? Lily asked. Yeah, he said too fast. She studied him for a second, then shrugged. You two are becoming close. The words felt like a warning. Is that bad? He asked carefully. She laughed lightly. No. I'm glad you get along. But later that night, Lily seemed distant. She scrolled through her phone in silence. She didn't reach for his hand like usual. The next morning, Ethan received no message from Claire. Hours passed. Nothing. By evening, anxiety crept in. Had she realized how close they had come to disaster? Was she pulling away? Finally, his phone buzzed. We need to stop before we destroy everything. His chest tightened. Are we already too late? He replied. A long pause. Maybe, she answered. That single word shook him. Over the next week, Claire kept her distance. No random texts. No surprise visits. When they saw each other at a small family dinner, she acted normal. Polite. Controlled, but her eyes avoided his. Lily seemed happier that week. She laughed more. She suggested a weekend trip. She even cooked his favorite dinner. Guilt grew heavier. One night, Lily sat beside him on the couch and asked quietly, Are you happy? The question felt sharp. Why would you ask that? You feel far away lately. He looked at her. Really looked at her. She wasn't cold. She wasn't uncaring. She was trying, and he had almost betrayed that. I'm just stressed, he said. She nodded slowly but didn't look convinced. The next afternoon, Claire called unexpectedly. I saw Lily today, she said, and? She told me she feels you slipping away. His stomach dropped. Claire's voice cracked slightly. This has to end, Ethan. It hasn't even begun. That's exactly why we can still save it. He closed his eyes. You were right, she continued. Loneliness makes people do things they never expected. But we're not those people. Her strength surprised him. I care about you, he admitted. I know, she replied softly. And that's why we stop. Tears burned behind his eyes, though he didn't let them fall. If Lily ever found out how close we came, Claire said, it would break her. He imagined it. The hurt. The betrayal. The loss. He couldn't allow that. Goodbye, Ethan, Claire whispered. She hung up. No dramatic moment. No final confession. Just silence. That night, Ethan came home early with flowers for Lily. Not to hide guilt, but to choose. She smiled when she saw him. For me? For us, he said. They talked for hours that evening. Honest conversations. Painful but needed. He admitted feeling lost. She admitted feeling overwhelmed. They both admitted drifting apart, but they also admitted they still cared. Later, as they sat together in the quiet living room, his phone buzzed one last time. He didn't need to check it to know who it was. He turned the phone off completely, and for the first time in weeks, he felt something clear. Not excitement, not temptation, but decision. Still, deep inside, a small part of him wondered if endings were ever truly final, or if some feelings simply wait for the right moment to return. Can love survive after standing so close to betrayal? The days after that final phone call felt strangely calm. No secret messages. No stolen moments. Just silence. Ethan focused on work. He came home earlier. He listened more. Lily noticed. She didn't ask questions, but her eyes searched his face as if trying to understand what had shifted inside him. One evening, she suggested they visit her mother. "She's been quiet lately," Lily said. "I think she feels lonely." Ethan's chest tightened, but he nodded. Of course. The drive to Claire's house felt longer than usual. The air inside the car was heavy, filled with thoughts neither of them spoke aloud. When they arrived, Claire opened the door with a gentle smile. She looked composed. Peaceful, even. "Hi, you too," she said warmly. For a brief second, her eyes met Ethan's. There was no spark this time. Only understanding. They sat at the kitchen table. Lily talked about work. Claire listened carefully, asking thoughtful questions. Ethan stayed mostly quiet. He watched them together, mother and daughter, and felt the weight of how close he had come to shattering something precious. Dinner was simple. Comfortable. Normal. At one point, Lily excused herself to take a phone call outside. Silence filled the kitchen. Claire poured more water into Ethan's glass without looking at him. "You made the right choice," she said softly. He swallowed. "So did you." She finally looked at him. Her eyes were calm but slightly sad. "Sometimes feelings show us what we're missing. They don't always mean we should follow them." He nodded slowly. "I've been trying to fix what's broken instead of escaping it." A faint smile touched her lips. "That's brave." Footsteps approached. Lily returned, cheerful. The moment disappeared. Later that night, as they drove home, Lily reached for his hand. "Mom seemed different," she said. "Different how?" "Lighter. Like she let something go." Ethan stared at the road. "Maybe she did." The following weeks brought change. Real change. Ethan and Lily began couples therapy. It wasn't dramatic or emotional at first. Just honest conversations guided by someone neutral. They spoke about distance. About routine. About losing themselves in daily stress. Lily admitted she had stopped noticing his quiet sadness. Ethan admitted he had stopped speaking up when he felt unseen. No shouting. No blame. Just truth. One afternoon, after a therapy session, Lily said, "I'm glad we didn't give up." "So am I," he replied. Meanwhile, Claire started focusing on her own life. She joined a book club. She traveled with an old friend. She even mentioned meeting someone at a community event. Not seriously. Just casually. But there was hope in her voice when she spoke about it. Ethan felt relief. One Sunday afternoon, months later, they all gathered again for a small family barbecue. The air smelled like grilled food and summer grass. Neighbors laughed in the distance. Music played softly from a speaker near the patio. It felt normal, healthy. Claire stood near the garden, trimming flowers. Ethan walked over, keeping a respectful distance. "You look happy," he said. "I am," she answered honestly.